Hey everybody. Well, I've got a few things to talk about from the macro and the micro. And my inspiration, of course, today is my camera, which I got the other day. I showed that. It's a Lumix G3. Anyway, I bought these lenses that I got in the mail today, and I was under the impression I was going to have to spend a couple $100s to buy a nice macro lens for these things. And I got these for $10. It's a little Polaroid, came with a little purse for them. There's 4 different sizes: 1, the 2, the 4, and the plus 10. And you can combine them and screw them together in order to take very, very fine close-up pictures. And macro photography is something I've been fascinated with and I've taken a lot, but I've never had a good, high-quality, pinpoint focus camera like this that I could actually take the quality pictures I wanted. So all day long I've been out. I'll probably upload a video later of my exploits as I wandered around the yard taking pictures of grass and flowers and whatnot. And when you're down there in that world, the reason why it's so fascinating to me is because you are in the middle of this it's a different world. It's like being in a it's hard to explain. Of course, everybody knows what micro photography or macro photography, anyway, called. People say it should be called micro photography, but the reality is that you're making things macro. You're making things that are usually small look bigger than normal, bigger than their normal size. And when you get to that point, you start to see details that you otherwise would never see. Scratches on the marble, a little hair on the bud, or a fur on the inside of a flower. In fact, the camera picks up the pictures. You don't even really notice. You can't even see the full awesomeness of it until it's up on the screen. So when you're in that world, if you've ever looked at super micro photography or like ultra macro, 1000 magnification, 10,000 magnification, you realize that we don't see very much. Not only do we see in a 0.01% of the entire wavelength of possible vision, because we're only seeing color, which is a tiny part of the spectrum, but everything is the worlds that go on down there. It's amazing. And within each one of those pistils is a whole group of organisms that work together, and on those organisms are other organisms, and in there they have these viruses and these cells and these, you get the point. There's an old philosophical type of thing about God and humans, and why would God be interested, and it has to do with the ants. If you compare the humans to an ant, as the human walks along and does his normal life, the lowly ant goes about his life, and unless the human really gets down and takes a look, he usually doesn't notice. And when you're looking at the micro world like that, you can see that the macro, the larger picture of the universe, whatever consciousnesses are larger than us, we are merely cells within that. The anthropomorphic version of God, or God taking a vested interest in a personal, individual life, is a comforting notion, yet one that isn't necessary for a person to believe that there's something greater. In other words, you don't have to be tied down to a belief system or even believe that God is aware of you, but just realize that everything just is, that it's all part of one organism. Because we separate things. Say you're looking in the yard, you're separating the flowers and the grass by view, but when you get down there really close, they both look the same. They're both made of cells, cytoplasms, and photosynthesizing, all the components of the plants are very similar. Just like humans, when you break us down, we're all very similar. And the bigger picture, it gives one comfort that, no matter how much you break something down originally, all the components are the same. My point is that everything is vibration, everything is frequency, everything exists in this state of transition, a state of decay, constantly renewing, regenerating. and dying. And being part of that in itself is amazing. Just being a human and having a consciousness that no matter what may exist outside of this realm, no matter how hard it is to comfort ourselves to think that our consciousness may carry on, we're here right now. And that in itself is just utterly incomprehensible. There's nothing to compare it to. It's something that we don't stop to think about too often, and that's probably a good thing, because we'd go crazy if we were always thinking about the fact that we're conscious and aware. But that whatever you may have been or may be, whether you believe in heaven or reincarnation or just decay and death and materialism, it matters not. The point is that we're all here right now to enjoy this moment. And enjoy it we must. Not deprive ourselves. Not spend this life trying to deprive ourselves of happiness, thinking that greener grass lies elsewhere. Because this is what you know now, and this is what we were given. So this is how people get into these materialist philosophies, where they start thinking, well, this is all we have, get the most out of it. The point is that you have to realize that the organism as a whole operates not on individual levels, but as a system. And that allows a person to live with caution in the way that they handle themselves, their dealings in life, as well as learning from their mistakes and growing towards something, so we can get old and be wise and die. And hopefully that's carried on. And if not, at least we tried. Peace and love, everybody. Have a good night.